almost nobody is talking about. It's not just construction, it's control. Control of water, energy, and even trillions in hidden minerals. The same resources China is already eyeing. One of these projects is so massive, it's the largest of its kind in all of Asia. And if you think that's big, wait until you hear how China is quietly expanding a $60 billion mega corridor straight into Afghanistan. Stay for that. Let's start with what's happening 400 kilometers north. The largest man-made canal in the desert, the Qosh Tepe Canal Project. This isn't just any construction project. It's a 115-mile water canal that's wider than California's famous aqueduct. Here's why this is huge. The canal will divert 20% of water from the Amu Darya River across northern Afghanistan's desert plains. When completed, it could irrigate 550,000 hectares of farmland. That's bigger than the entire state of Delaware. This would increase Afghanistan's farmable land by 1/3 and potentially make the country completely self-sufficient in food. Right now, 6,000 workers operate massive excavators around the clock, carving this enormous ditch through some of the world's most challenging terrain. The total estimated investment cost of the Qosh Tepe Canal project is $684 million. The Taliban has invested another $100 million into this project, showing they're serious about transforming Afghanistan's economy. But here's the controversial part. Neighboring countries like Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan are getting nervous. They depend on that same river water for their cotton fields, and Afghanistan is basically saying, we're taking our share whether you like it or not. The Taliban isn't just building within Afghanistan. They're constructing projects that give them leverage over neighboring countries. And water is their most powerful weapon. Beyond the Qosh Tepe Canal, they're building multiple dams across the country. They recently announced fresh construction on the Bakhshabad Dam, even while having diplomatic disputes with Iran over water rights. The message is clear. Afghanistan controls the water sources, and they'll build whatever they want. These dam projects serve multiple purposes. They generate hydroelectric power, making Afghanistan less dependent on energy imports. They provide irrigation for agriculture, supporting the Taliban's goal of food self-sufficiency. And they give Afghanistan negotiating power with downstream countries that depend on these same water sources. The Taliban has also been surprisingly effective at cleaning up corruption in these projects. Unlike the previous US-backed government that was notorious for siphoning off billions in aid money, the Taliban appears to be actually completing projects and using resources efficiently. According to multiple reports, they've dramatically reduced the corruption that plagued infrastructure projects for decades. To make their country better in every way, the Taliban aren't just focusing on electricity, canals, dams, natural gas, and waterways. They're also reconstructing their old capital to improve their lifestyle, creating what's now called Kabul New City. This isn't just another construction project, it's a complete reimagining of Afghanistan's future. A massive urban development covering 722 square kilometers, almost 1.5 times the size of present-day Kabul. The Taliban plans to build 250,000 residential units that could house between 1.1 and 3 million people, creating a modern hub to ease Kabul's overcrowding crisis. Phase 1 alone is divided into 206 sections. The Golden City section will offer 42,000 housing units for 23,000 people across 372 hectares. Construction restarted on Parcel B in August 2023, building 6,600 housing units for 40,000 residents. In late 2024, work began on Parcel 2.6 with a whopping $700 million investment to provide 52,000 units for 33,000 residents. But it's not just housing. The Taliban envisions universities, clinics, shopping centers, and green spaces, all supported by reliable infrastructure including schools, hospitals, utilities, and parks. The project will unfold over 30 years in 2 main phases, featuring commercial, agricultural, and recreational areas. If completed, this would be one of the largest planned cities in Asia, transforming Afghanistan's urban landscape forever. The Taliban understands geography better than most people realize. Afghanistan sits right in the middle of some of the world's most important trade routes, and they're building infrastructure to take advantage of this position. First, there's the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC expansion. In May 2025, China, Pakistan, and the Taliban signed a trilateral agreement to extend this $60 billion corridor into Afghanistan. This creates a direct link from China's Xinjiang province through Pakistan to Afghanistan, giving China access to Central Asian markets and Afghanistan's mineral wealth. But here's where it gets really interesting. The Trans-Afghan Railway Project. This $4.8 billion, 573-kilometer railway will connect Uzbekistan to Pakistan through Afghanistan, cutting transit time from 35 days to just 4 days. Construction starts in 2025, and it will require building over 300 bridges and 5 major tunnels through some of the world's most challenging terrain. Meanwhile, the Kaf Herat Railway connecting Afghanistan to Iran became operational in 2023, with the first cargo shipment of 655 tons of railway equipment successfully completed. This gives Afghanistan access to Iranian ports and global shipping networks. The Taliban is essentially saying, you might not recognize our government, but you can't ignore our geography. Well, geographically, no one can beat the Taliban, and maybe that's why they started the TAPI pipeline project around 20 years ago. But unfortunately, it got stuck in the planning phase.
If you've ever considered immigrating to Canada, you might have encountered the term express entry.
Stuck in the planning phase. TAPI stands for Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, and it's designed to transport 33 billion cubic meters of natural gas annually across these 4 countries. Here's the shocking part. In September 2024, the Taliban did something nobody expected. They restarted construction on Afghanistan's portion of this $10 billion pipeline project. Taliban spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid announced that work had officially begun on Afghan soil after ceremonies with Turkmenistan officials. This pipeline will run 1,821 kilometers, passing right through some of Afghanistan's most volatile regions. If completed, it could generate close to $1 billion in annual revenue for Afghanistan while creating thousands of jobs. The Taliban sees this as their ticket to energy independence and regional influence. But here's what makes this really interesting. The original TAPI project was actually negotiated with the Taliban back in 1998, before 9/11 changed everything. Now they're back in power, and they're picking up exactly where they left off 25 years ago. But that's not the only cross-border project they're involved in. Here's another big project known as CASA 1000, which is designed to send electricity across borders and light up millions of homes. This $1.2 billion electricity transmission project is designed to bring clean hydroelectric power from Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan down through Afghanistan and into Pakistan. Think of it like this. Central Asia has massive mountain lands with lots of water, which means lots of hydroelectric power. But the countries with the most electricity don't have the biggest populations. Meanwhile, Pakistan and Afghanistan desperately need more power for their growing cities and industries. The CASA 1000 project would transmit 300 megawatts of electricity, enough to power about 1 million homes. Afghanistan would get 300 megawatts for its own use, while 1,000 megawatts would continue south to Pakistan. Here's the twist. The World Bank actually approved resuming this project in 2024, even though they don't officially recognize the Taliban government. They created a special ring-fenced arrangement where all payments stay outside Taliban control, but the construction continues. This means the Taliban gets the economic benefits of hosting this massive infrastructure project without actually controlling the money flow. Afghanistan's location has always been its biggest advantage, but now things have taken a new turn. With the Taliban back in power, they're not just using their position on the map. They're also sitting on a hidden fortune. Trillions of dollars worth of untapped minerals lie beneath their feet, and for the first time, they're trying to turn that buried treasure into real power. We're talking about lithium for electric car batteries, copper for electronics, rare earth elements for smartphones, and much more. The Taliban knows this, and they're moving fast to start extraction. The most famous example is the Ainat copper mine. China has held mining rights here for 15 years, and in July 2024, they finally cut the ribbon to begin operations, for about the 10th time. But this time feels different because the Taliban is providing the security and stability that previous governments couldn't guarantee. The Taliban has also been aggressively taxing mining operations throughout the country. According to World Bank reports, they collected $1,054 billion in revenue in 2022, with much of it coming from taxes on mining and reconstruction industries. Here's what's really interesting. The Taliban is using mining revenues to fund all these other infrastructure projects. They're creating a cycle where mineral wealth pays for roads and tunnels, which makes it easier to extract more minerals, which generates more revenue for more projects. In the same way, using some of these revenues, the Taliban also reconstructed a tunnel that kills 40 people every year, the Salang Tunnel. It's not just a death trap, it's also a lifeline for Afghanistan. This tunnel sits high in the mountains, 11,000 feet above sea level, and it connects the north and south of the country. Built by the Soviets in 1964, the Salang Tunnel is 2.7 kilometers long and has become known as one of the most dangerous roads in the world. Unpaved roads filled with choking dust and smoke, poisonous carbon monoxide from broken ventilation systems, and constant threat of avalanches. The tunnel was designed for 2,000 vehicles daily, but now handles up to 9,000 during peak times. In 1982, the deadliest road accident in history happened here when collisions caused fires and explosions, killing up to 2,700 people. But here's what shocked everyone. In December 2023, Taliban officials announced they had completely reconstructed the tunnel. They spent $100 million of their own money, about a quarter of Afghanistan's entire annual tax revenue. Moves like this show how serious they are about building mega projects, and if these developments succeed, they could transform Afghanistan's economy and regional influence. Whether they succeed or fail will reshape not just Afghanistan, but the future of the entire region.
Imagine a country long defined by war, poverty, and foreign intervention suddenly emerging as the center of a massive economic and infrastructure revolution. Afghanistan, under the Taliban, is no longer just a story of conflict. It's a story of transformation. Behind closed doors, the Taliban are orchestrating projects that could shift the balance of power in Central and South Asia. They are controlling water, harnessing energy, unlocking mineral wealth, and building cities and transport networks on a scale few could have imagined. The world sees chaos, but beneath the dust and rubble, a silent revolution is underway, one that could redefine Afghanistan's place in the world. Take the Kosh Tepe Canal, for example. Stretching roughly 285 kilometers and wider than many famous canals around the world, it is intended to redirect a significant portion of the...
Okay, hey, so let me break in real quick, because I'm just sitting here listening to this as well. You remember that old saying, the revolution will be televised, but it never said which revolution. Mind you, right? I'm a military veteran. I went to Iraq, fought. It's wild to see Afghanistan literally is about to prosper better than the people in America. Think about that. Think about that. That's crazy. It's actually interesting. I just came across this. It's actually interesting.
Amu Darya River across northern Afghanistan. This canal is not simply an irrigation project. It is a move to secure control over water, one of the region's most critical resources. If completed, it could irrigate more than 500,000 hectares of farmland, land that is currently desert, and increase Afghanistan's arable land by about 1/3. That could make the country almost self-sufficient in food, a major shift for a nation long dependent on imports and foreign aid. But water comes with tension. Neighboring countries like Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan rely on the same river for their agriculture, particularly cotton production. By claiming a large share of the river's flow, Afghanistan is sending a bold message. It will prioritize its own needs, whether or not its neighbors agree. The canal is just one piece of a larger push for control over natural resources and energy. Across the country, the Taliban are investing heavily in dams and hydroelectric power. Projects such as the Bakhshabad Dam are designed to generate electricity, provide irrigation for agriculture, and give Afghanistan a measure of independence from foreign energy supplies. This approach signals a shift from dependency to self-sufficiency. But it also gives Afghanistan leverage in negotiations with downstream neighbors who depend on the same rivers for their own water and power needs. The Taliban are also involved in international energy projects like CASA 1000, which will transmit electricity from Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan through Afghanistan to Pakistan. Afghanistan itself will retain a portion of the power, enough to energize hundreds of thousands of homes. Even though the Taliban government is not officially recognized internationally, projects like CASA 1000 demonstrate that global institutions are willing to work with Afghanistan where strategic interests align. In Kabul, the capital, the Taliban are tackling a different kind of challenge: urban development. The overcrowding crisis has inspired the creation of Kabul New City, an ambitious project covering more than 700 square kilometers, almost 1.5 times the size of the existing city. The plan includes hundreds of thousands of residential units, commercial zones, schools, hospitals, and green spaces. If realized, this city could house between 1 and 3 million people, offering a modern alternative to the congested capital. By integrating residential, commercial, and recreational areas, the Taliban are trying to transform not just the skyline, but the daily life of citizens in the heart of Afghanistan. Transportation and trade infrastructure is also receiving unprecedented attention. The Trans-Afghan Railway, a $4.8 billion project, will link Uzbekistan to Pakistan through Afghanistan, drastically reducing the time it takes for goods to move across the region. More than 300 bridges and 5 major tunnels will be built to overcome some of the world's toughest terrain. Simultaneously, the Taliban have resumed work on the Turkmenistan-Afghanistan-Pakistan-India (TAPI) pipeline, a $10 billion initiative designed to transport natural gas across 4 countries. If successful, this pipeline could bring Afghanistan nearly $1 billion in annual revenue, create thousands of jobs, and secure a key role for the country in regional energy markets. Beyond water, energy, and transportation, Afghanistan sits atop a treasure trove of minerals. Lithium, copper, rare earth elements, and other critical materials lie hidden beneath the surface. The Taliban are aggressively moving to exploit these resources, often in partnership with foreign companies, such as China's mining firms. Mining revenues are being reinvested into infrastructure projects, creating a cycle where Afghanistan's natural wealth fuels further development. The Eno copper mine, long stalled under previous governments, has resumed operations under Taliban oversight, showing how security and control over territory can unlock economic potential. Even the nation's most dangerous roads and tunnels are being addressed. The Salang Tunnel, a Soviet-era route connecting northern and southern Afghanistan, has long been notorious for accidents and fatalities. The Taliban recently invested $100 million to reconstruct this passage, improving safety and facilitating trade and travel. It is an example of how infrastructure projects can directly impact both the economy and citizens' lives. All of these developments intersect with broader regional ambitions. China, Pakistan, and Afghanistan recently agreed to extend the $60 billion China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, into Afghanistan, linking China's Xinjiang province with Afghanistan and providing new access to Central Asian markets. This corridor, part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, could transform Afghanistan into a critical transit hub, giving it leverage over regional trade routes while attracting foreign investment. Taken together, these projects reveal a Taliban strategy that is rarely discussed in mainstream media. This is not about building monuments or showing force. It is about control, influence, and long-term economic and geopolitical positioning. By managing water, energy, transportation, urban development, and mineral extraction, the Taliban are attempting to assert Afghanistan's independence and relevance in a region dominated by powerful neighbors and global actors. The world is watching with a mixture of skepticism and intrigue. Will these ambitious plans succeed despite Afghanistan's challenging terrain, security concerns, and limited international recognition? Will neighboring countries resist, negotiate, or adapt to a stronger, more self-sufficient Afghanistan? One thing is clear: the Taliban's vision goes far beyond simple governance. They are quietly building the foundations of a country that could play a far larger role in regional economics, infrastructure, and resource management than anyone expected. Afghanistan, once seen as isolated and fragile, is quietly reshaping its future, one massive project at a time. Afghanistan is quietly transforming before the world's eyes. From massive canals to modern cities, from energy corridors to hidden mineral wealth, the Taliban's projects could change the region forever.